All right, let's get it going. We are rolling right now, and we are here to talk about the Armada boot. So first, I'll start with the topic that everyone's here dying to hear you talk about, Giorgio. How was Karma?
Dude, that was a great sushi recommendation.
Hell yeah.
Dude, that was that's unassuming restaurant when you go there. It's right next to a Planet Fitness.
Yeah, it's in like
there's like
plaza.
a McDonald's and whatever. Walk in, place is huge. Place was packed.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have been able to like get food if there wasn't a reservation.
Yep.
And the menu it's a little glossier and it has pictures.
Yep.
Which could mean like, you know what, this is maybe going to be like a bit of a miss.
Yep.
And we started off with gyoza, edamame, and then did all of our staple rolls and tried some of the specialty rolls. Dude, that was top tier sushi.
Yeah.
Like
the best
so
sushi.
Excellent.
Everybody knows the best sushi can be found in the Merrimack Valley in Shawsheen.
Dude, it was so good.
I'm glad I wasn't there for when you were looking at the pictures on the menu before you tried anything, because I would have been a little nervous,
Yeah.
You weren't going to like my recommendation.
Yeah.
But,
and I normally would have done, a martini, Kettle One, dirty olives, but I went with your recommendation and I had 2 22-ounce can Sapporos.
Hell yeah.
Dude, what a great
Makes
can.
you feel like you're in Japan, right?
Yeah, I guess kind of a throwback to a year ago when I was in Japan, but that is the better Sapporo. The Sapporo that you can only get there slaps just as expected.
Is it? They have those cool cans, though, right?
I
That's
think
the reason I love the Sapporos at Karma, because they're in those 22-ounce, dude, those things are so firm, too.
I know.
They definitely use a different type of metal.
They definitely do.
A different type of titanol.
Yeah. No, I think ski engineers need to take some of the design tips of the Sapporo. I mean, we could unlock a whole new technology that we could be talking about.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you...
Unreal recommendation. I can't wait to go back.
I'm glad you liked it. All right, that's our podcast. Thank you, guys. All right. But no, for real, we're here to talk about the Armada boot. Launched last week. We're all super excited about it. I've been looking forward to this since I heard about it, since you guys went out to Utah a few years ago.
Yeah.
What can you tell me about this boot?
So we've known that Armada was going to be coming out with a ski boot since a trip we had to Utah. We had a meeting with Armada in February of 2023, and they kind of go to this other slide, and it was of what the boot could be. Yeah. They hadn't fully decided on direction yet. Is this going to be, a cabrio? Is it going to have a walk mode? Is it going to be a 4-buckle boot? Is it going to be an overlap boot? What was it going to be? And some of our feedback on what we thought the direction should be. So I'm excited that we finally have a product, for one, because I think the market is honestly pretty thirsty for something like this.
Yeah.
And, to those that don't know, Armada didn't just come up with this boot on their own. It's not like they didn't have experts working on it. Armada is part of the Armor group, Solomon, and Atomic in there as well. And they had a lot of help from the Atomic boot team to build this thing. I mean, if you look at it, even on the tongue, the shape, the finishing, all that stuff, I mean, it has some Atomic DNA in it.
For sure.
So trusting that this is going to be a good product, you don't have to worry about that. If you're not worried about Atomic or Solomon boots,
right,
breaking the durability, so let's just get that out of the way. This is a extremely well built, thought out product with, one of the better facilities producing it.
Right. And it was cool. There was some collaboration across the brands there, because I feel like that doesn't always happen with sister companies or.
Totally. And the gang at Atomic, I mean, it's not really a secret that we're pretty close with, Manzer and Jason Rowe and all those guys over there. But their collaboration with Armada made one heck of a product. And I think this is really what we kind of hoped a cabrio boot would have been, in the past.
Right. Yeah. Had you heard whispers of the Armada boot for some time before that, or was that presentation in Utah the first you'd heard of it?
If there were whispers before that, I probably just thought it was just hearsay or whatever.
Right.
I can't really recall anything like that.
I could kind of see this being like a new schoolers April Fool's thing.
Oh, yeah.
You
totally.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, did you, when they first pitched it to you or showed you the presentation, were you on board? And were you kind of hoping for a Cabrio, or did you what was the feedback you gave them there?
That if it was a Cabrio, it just needed to be different than what the current Cabrio was. Like, it needed to be more thought out, because like you had, the original Reichley Flexon. And if we go through, some of that story, let me back up a little bit. So
take it back.
Years ago, I helped out quite a bit at Del Bello when their U.S. office was in Andover, New Hampshire.
Oh yeah.
And, talking about product, launched their social media way back in the day. And the first Krypton, that was kind of like a Glenn Plake idea. And he went to Del Bello with the Krypton and is like, I want to buy these molds and we just need to make these changes to it. Del Bello said, no, we're not doing that. And was kind of like bummed out, like, okay, well, shoot, I really wanted this project to happen. And Del Bello came back and is like, no, we're going to do the Krypton project. We're going to build it from the ground up. But when that was done, it was very much, it was copied a bit from, the Krypton or the Reichley Flexon or the Full Tilt that everybody knows.
Were Full Tilts already on the market then?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they were hot.
Yep. And, I remember in one of those meetings with Clint Lyons, the president of Del Bello, U.S. at the time, and he was saying the biggest mistake he's made as a ski industry exec was not buying the Reichley Flexon molds.
Right.
When they were made or when they were up for sale, because all the molds were available for $35,000.
Yeah.
And I remember him saying in a meeting, he's like, I should have just bought those molds and smashed them with a hammer, and I never would have had to, compete against, Full Tilt, Reichley, any of that stuff, and the Krypton could have just been.
Full Tilt would have never been a thing.
Never would have. I don't know if, like, Full Tilt definitely made it so, like, people, I mean, it was marketed so well by, Jason Leventhal and Malchek and that whole gang over there that it made Cabrio cool.
Yeah.
So then it gave, it was like a stepping stone for Del Bello in order to sell Cabrio. So would Cabrio ever have been a thing if those would have gotten destroyed? I don't know.
Right.
So,
so that should have been happening pretty simultaneously though, if he had the opportunity to buy the mold and then Full Tilt.
Yeah, and
J Lev bought it before and had it to market.
K2 bought those molds, and then K2 had Jason basically launch Full Tilt in tandem with Line once Line was a part of K2.
Okay.
Full Tilt was a wakeboard brand that K2 owned that they didn't have anymore, and they took the wakeboard brand name, put that on the boot, made the boots look cooler, put an Intuition wrap liner, and I mean, like, park skiing was like so. I mean, that was so up and coming.
It was so,
at the time there was so much excitement there. Like,
right.
I mean, the stars aligned. It worked out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I look back at that time and you saw way more people skiing on lines and park skis.
Yeah.
Because the all mountain category wasn't as strong.
Yeah. I mean, there was just so much excitement in, like, I mean, they looked different. I mean, like, ski boots kind of for a while, they just kind of looked, boring, the same. And here comes, Full Tilt with, I mean, they made him look like a sneaker. I mean, it was genius.
Yeah.
I mean, those original Hot Dogger boots, how sick were those things?
Sick.
The Seth Morrison boot, unreal.
Yeah. The one with the zebra print was so fire.
Totally, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, it has like a timeless silhouette to it.
Right.
It just looks freaking cool.
It looks classic. It looks so simple. It looks like it looks really cool.
Like,
it
looks
a retro
old.
Feel to it.
Totally.
But okay, that leads me into the next thing, which is kind of like synced up with the start of those boots and them becoming popular is the opening of the Ski Monster here. And during those times, those were some of your strongest boots you were selling.
Yeah. So like, I think, so 3-piece boots were really kind of like started catching fire in like the mid 2000s. I mean, I was in a Del Bello Krypton from like 2004 until 2016, I think. And
That's a long time in a boot.
almost all the, original people that were here, everyone was in.
Not the same one.
Not the same one, no.
Yeah.
Krypton Pros, El Moros.
I had a pair of Elmoras that I was very fond of.
Yeah, dude, they were cool.
The gold ones with the chain.
Yeah. Oh, like the whole shell was gold?
Yeah, the whole
chain?
shell was gold.
Yeah.
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 It was a gray buckle.
That boot had the top buckle on it. Really, it was like a snowboard ratchet.
Yes.
Yeah, it didn't really work super well.
I liked it.
It like
cracked.
looked different, but like function wasn't really there.
They cracked.
But yeah, I mean that momentum carried all the way until when we opened up here in 2014, and for the first 2 seasons for sure, like well over 50% of the boots going out the door here was a 3-piece or a Cabrio boot.
Yeah.
And when Del Bello got bought in 2000, I think that was January of 2015. We can look it up, but I think that's when it happened. Like there was like another year where the boots were like still kind of what they were, and then like it just kind of, there was more of a focus that Del Bello had going into what was that boot called? I think it was called like the Scorpion.
Yeah.
Their race boots,
Yeah.
and just doing overlap boots, since now they were partnered up with Vocal.
Yep.
And like the boot was definitely, the Krypton 2 was definitely due for like an update, and it didn't happen. And they just lost, a lot of momentum. And I mean, now fast forward to 2025, dude, no, you don't even have to fast forward to now. Fast forward to 2020, and less than 1% of the ski boots that are going out the door are Cabrio boots.
Yeah.
I mean, like crazy.
I mean, since
swing.
I started 4 years ago, or what, I don't know when it was, but I mean, 3-piece boot, they just have not really been a thing that we're selling.
Right. I mean, like they haven't, there hasn't been much updates to them.
So is that what you would say happened? Basically, they weren't getting upgrades, and
yeah, I mean, they didn't. I mean, anyone that had one of the original Kryptons or Krypton 2s, like they didn't fit that well. They were cool, they skied pretty well, but they fit like crap. And all the other brands, let's call them the race heritage brands, were really focusing so much more on making their fits more anatomical. And how can I, have, a more progressive flex or something that makes sense for more skiers. And the boots got a lot less blocky flexing in overlap boots, which was a big reason why people went to 3-piece boots in general, because they had a smoother feel against their shin.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, now, I mean, like behind us where we have all the boots stored, I mean, the majority of those boots have a very progressive, smooth feel going, and
100%.
way less people are complaining about their shins.
Yeah.
And if you've gone into you have spent plenty of time on new schoolers, but like if you go back in the day, like the amount of talk about like shin pressure and shin bang. I mean, when I used to market those Del Bello boots when I worked for them, I mean, we were selling them like you're not going to have a shin issue in this boot.
It was just shin bang.
Yeah.
Right.
It worked.
It's crazy how common of an issue shin bang. I feel like it's not so much anymore, but
yeah.
That makes sense. A progressive.
Well, it's way less of an issue now because the overlap boots actually work.
Yeah.
Now, like the thing that
the progressive flex and just nicer.
Yeah, the boot just doesn't go clank,
the
clank.
tongues are a little nicer.
Yeah. Everything about them's nicer. And, this is a 3-piece boot, but it's a 3-piece boot that skis like a 2-piece 4-buckle boot. I mean, this boot is sick.
Yeah.
It skis really freaking well.
Yeah.
And it fits better than any Cabrio boot that's ever existed.
Yeah.
I mean, this thing is
ridiculous.
ridiculous.
Can you talk more about that when you put this on your foot comparatively to a Del Bello Krypton from back in the day or their new Cabrio?
Yeah, so like the this is, 100 millimeter last, and it's, I would say it's really, it's similar, like it's a sibling or a cousin, whatever you want to call it, to like the Hawks Prime.
Yep.
With a toe box that isn't as pointed as the Atomic, and a little bit more solid of a heel pocket, and the instep they just nailed. And like one thing that's really helpful in 3-piece boots for people is they're a little more forgiving on top of the foot. When this bends forward, in a 2-piece boot, when you bend forward, the shell, the lower part collapses quite a bit more and can put more pressure on top. So, good solution for people with higher insteps too. But I mean, they just nailed the fit of this thing. And I mean, even like looking down at it, I mean, I have a Birkenstock in the background, which, looks way different than the Solomon shoes you have on, right?
Yep.
I mean, your Solomon shoes are way more pointed, but like looking down at this looks more like a foot.
Yeah.
So like all these toe punches, I think that people have felt like they needed in other boots in the past, like, dude, they're just going to be good to go.
Yeah. So what skier do you think this boot's for?
Well, I think a lot of skiers.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think it's important to clarify this isn't just a park boot or freestyle boot.
And, that might be a good thing to just say about Armada in general. Like,
Right.
I think, because of where their roots are, in park skiing, and they're so known for that. Mm-hmm. Like, even with skis like the Declivity, which are some of the highest performing all-mountain skis, like, it's like not enough people give those skis a chance because of their roots in park and freestyle, or even powder skis. But the things rip.
Right.
And like so much of that team at Armada that we, are lucky enough to hang out with in Utah, dude, they freaking shred.
Yeah.
Those dudes, yeah, they can ski
They're not
all over
just
the
like
mountain.
a bunch of park rats.
No, dude, they can rip
Yeah.
groomers. They can arc turns, bend a ski. They know how to do all that. And then they can do all the other crazy stuff. So they really built a boot that can do a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to clear up some misconceptions about, what a park boot or park friendly boot can do. I mean, this is great.
Right. It's cleaner fit. It's a little stiffer.
Yeah.
Stiff too. The 130 is stiff.
130 is a real 130.
Yeah. And it's offered in 90, 110.
9100. I think it starts at 90 and goes all the way to 130.
Okay.
I think it's 90, 100, 110, 120, 130.
Sure.
And I think the pro model, I think, is the 120.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the marketed boot.
Yeah.
But I think it's great. And the way that this middle buckle connects, honestly, like the way it looks, I mean, this gives it more of a 4-buckle feel when you do it. 4-buckle feel, but with the ease of, putting on a 3-piece boot. And I mean, honestly, shouldn't miss on that. Like, this is so easy to put on.
Yeah. Right.
And it's not a pain in the ass to buckle up. Like the original full tilt.
Yeah.
Like getting that cable around and then like trying to get it through that thing. I mean, that wasn't awesome.
No.
And then like even in, most of the Del Bellos, like or any of them, like how much the tongue would get twisted onto the side. This just stays way more centered.
Yeah. I kind of forget what it's. I haven't skied in a Del Bello in so long, but I had I went El Moro to El Moro, and the gold one was great, and then my second one kind of stunk. So
What was the second colorway?
it was like Rasta colored.
Mm.
I don't know if it was an El Moro or a Krypton. I
Mm.
knew nothing about ski boots at the time. I think I just ordered it online.
Mm.
Surprise, surprise, it didn't fit.
No, but I also like, the boot has, it has, I just noticed that it's got tech inserts in the front, but it doesn't have tech heel. You see that?
Yeah.
I just noticed
I didn't
that.
notice that. I obviously noticed.
I just made an assumption.
Walk mode, but
yeah, no walk mode.
so this is
Shift friendly. Shift Kingpin. Duke.
Yeah.
Shift Duke.
No tech bindings.
Kingpin. Yeah.
I like that. I think there's a place for that for sure.
Oh, there totally
I
is.
think a lot of people who tour don't really need a walking boot.
Right. But dude, if you look in the manual, and you're on like the third page, there is a walk mode.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, I didn't see the picture earlier.
So, I mean, it really wouldn't be surprising
Oh yeah.
if, there's a walk mode version of it coming. Since they already got the tech inserts in there, adding a walk mode wouldn't be the craziest thing.
Yeah. And
it's in the freaking manual.
Yeah, I think that's evidence right there.
Yeah.
Do you think that's an Easter egg? You think they did that on purpose, or you think they don't really give a shit, or you think they actually?
Dude, I wonder if they made that like before and then decided like, okay, are we coming out with, is the AR1 gonna have a walk mode to start, or is it not? And the manual was maybe done before. What are we gonna launch first?
Yeah.
I don't know that for sure.
Yeah, I'd be interested.
Oh, dude, I just got a message. All right, hang on here. This is Oh,
Stand
that
by.
makes sense. Okay. So, just got a text from one of the dudes behind this boot in Austria. So, I mean, this is staring us in the face, but this Cabrio boot is pinned on the back, just like an overlap boot.
Oh, yeah.
Other Cabrio boots aren't.
Okay.
Yeah,
I can't think of what the back of a Cabrio boot looks like.
dude, it's just got the thing down here to like adjust the forward lean.
Yeah.
Just that thing at the bottom.
Yep.
But there aren't those pins.
Yep.
How did I not notice that? That was staring me in the face.
Yeah.
Huh.
Anything else?
Well, I guess I was right in the being based off Hawks Prime.
I mean, it's definitely based off a Hawks Prime. If you hold this next to a Hawks Prime, they kind of feel like the same boot.
Totally. So, if you've watched any of our other stuff, you've heard me talk about how Cabrio boots are a linear flex, overlap boots are a progressive flex. By pinning the lower to the cuff, those pins there that we just talked about, that makes it a Cabrio boot with a more progressive flex. So that's why I feel like this is skiing like an overlap boot, a four buckle boot.
Yeah. So you think that's the
dude.
biggest factor there?
It's got to be. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but also I should disclose my foot's 30 centimeters, so they have not made this boot big enough for me to try on, which makes this a little trickier, but that's just my cross to bear. That's just something you got to deal with as a unit. But everything I hear is the heel pocket on this is so tight when you put it on out of the box. I don't think that's something I've ever felt with the full tilt or
no, it's been mushier back there,
Yeah.
because they've all been intuition liners. It hasn't been nearly as
just not as
precise as
aggressive on
this.
the ankle bones.
Yep. And dude, we should say this too. Like, you have a cookable shell. So, I mean, the fact that you have a memory fit shell, you can throw that thing in the oven to get some more adjustments out of it, just like you can in an Atomic or a Solomon boot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
Right. But Atomic builds the best liners in the world, so that also plays a part.
Their Mimic liners are so good. And like, to any trolls who want to live in the comments on that complain about Atomic liners, like if you have an Atomic, any of the Mimic liners, and you're not happy with it, if that thing didn't get hot enough, then you haven't got the awesomeness out of Mimic. So, maybe give it another molding try, because the exterior of that shell, dude, sick. And it doesn't say Mimic in here, but it feels like Mimic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a Mimic crossover. For
Yeah,
sure.
they call it 3D or whatever.
Yeah, they just have to come up with a new name.
Yeah. No, I'm hyped.
Go back to the when you're talking about Mimic, you're talking about heating up the liner.
Yeah, the outside. Here, take that liner out of there.
All right. Buckle ASMR.
But right where on the liner where you can kind of you can feel where they decided the ankle bones probably are.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Oh, yeah.
Every boot does that, but it's got that harder shell feel to it,
Yep.
Mimic does, where there's that thin layer of PU that ends up going to all the nuances of everybody's foot, which makes everyone just feel more socked in there, and makes it more pack out resistant since that PU isn't compressible.
Right. And it's a stronger material.
Yeah, and then it integrates with the shell. So from liner to shell, you just feel way more socked in there, and you feel like there's less lag or less slop between the two. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's part of what makes those Atomic liners so good. And I don't know, I think it's there. They're just not saying that it is. I mean, doesn't that look like a Mimic to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feels like one. It's got pretty similar features. I mean, this whole thing that covers the adjustable tongue.
Well, I mean, how about that? I mean, you're also in a you're in a Cabrio boot, Cabrio hybrid, whatever they're calling it, that has a real liner, as opposed to just the Intuition liners of the past.
Right.
That liner was designed to integrate with that boot.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yep.
It definitely feels like a little bit more intricate.
Yep. And one thing, I know you know this from how many boot fits you've done, but when you have someone in an Atomic ski boot, and they kind of do this thing with their feet, they're kind of picking up their feet, and they notice how there is no slop between the liner and shell.
Yeah.
That same shit's there.
Right. It's fit
for
the shell.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's 1-to-1.
Yeah. Right. And that's why, yeah. I mean, I was...
So back to your original
I don't want to
thing.
open up. Go ahead. Sorry.
That is the one of the other reasons why Atomic and this Armada liner is so badass, because it's 1-to-1. You just feel locked in.
Yep. Cool. So you think there's
Have fun, trolls.
There's a place for it.
Yeah, totally.
This boot.
100%.
That's great.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can't wait to start getting them on people's feet and have them skiing them and then hear how it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I've only done one boot fit. It was actually yesterday where it went on someone's foot, but he was, he said before the whole thing started that he's super loyal to Solomon and he's only going to buy a Solomon. So it didn't have the right logo on it.
Right.
So, but otherwise,
Did he like
response
it?
was good. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Sweet. Do you think this disrupts the boot market?
Yeah, I do, because Armada's trusted. It fits really well. All someone has to do that has a mid-volume foot is put that thing on. Dude, it's going to win in so many categories. It's not pigeonholed like so many other boots
Yeah.
that have been similar to it. It's awesome. Fits really, really well. I mean, just how much more anatomical the toe box is going to make that fit a lot better or win a lot of fits.
Yeah.
I mean, it checks so many of the boxes of what people are looking for in a set of ski boots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you think this will lead to more three-piece boots or other brands experimenting with this?
No, I think they're too busy with BOA.
People are busy with BOA.
I think what we'll see next is we'll probably see, BOA introduced to the existing, Del Bellos and K2 Cabrio boots.
Yeah.
I haven't seen one.
No, but we know at least K2 is all in on BOA.
They're all in on BOA. So there's no way that's not coming, but I don't know how that's. I wonder how that's going to attach
on a full tilt.
What's that?
I don't know how that would work on a full tilt with the cables.
Oh, I don't know.
Go?
Well,
the top?
Like it would just be with like the original full tilt, it would just be like slapped on, and that's not like the best solution.
Yeah.
The better fitting BOA boots that we have are the ones where that was built in tandem with BOA going on there. Yeah. Instead of like, okay, BOA is saying this BOA has to go right here, we'll make it work, and it just doesn't work quite as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, the dude, I don't even know what they're called. What are they called? The K2 Flex? Is that what they're called?
Yeah. That's
right?
The whole family.
Right.
And then it's like K2 Method.
Yeah. Method is the 102. The higher volume one that used to be like, what was that called? Descendant or
yes. Descendant, Hot Dogger.
What was it? Descendant 4, 6, 8. Dropkick's one of the original ones.
Yeah. They had some good names.
Dude. But yeah, long went away. I don't know. I think that group is so busy with BOA.
Yeah.
Del Bello and K2 are sister companies there. Yeah, I mean, they're probably already working on a triple BOA, dude.
Quadruple. Fuck it. You get a BOA.
You get a BOA, you get a BOA, you get a BOA. Yeah.
The whole boot's just going to be BOA dials.
Yeah.
So, no. To answer the question, you do not think this is going to lead to more three-piece boots or other brands trying this? Or
I mean, it's going to take
what about
freaking years.
What about a brand that's never done it, like a Tecnica or like?
Yeah, Tecnica did not. Nordica did with Fire Arrow and Ace of Spades, which is crazy. I mean, they got rid of their best-selling boot ever, the Speed Machine, killed the line, came out with Fire Arrow.
Yeah.
That's
what Full Tilt did to people.
Dude. And what that really did was, I think, legitimized the Full Tilt and the Del Bello. Nordica gained nothing from it. Del Bello and Full Tilt gained it all.
Right. Right. Nordic is making this, so these must be really good.
They must be good.
Yeah.
And
Solomon kind of had something going with SPK.
Yeah, that goofy.
This top buckle kind of reminds me of it when I see it. Not to hate on the Armada, but
dude, I got several DMs about like, oh, dude, they just fucking took an SPK and slapped an Armada logo on it. Like, nah,
it's not the same boot.
No, not at all.
Yeah, it doesn't
Not
have
at
the
all.
soft toe.
Yeah, what was that? Yeah.
Dude, prevent toe bang. For those who don't remember or never saw it.
Oh my
the
God.
Solomon SPK had it was like a rubber.
Dude, that was a weird era of ski boots.
The front of the boot was rubber. And the idea was to prevent toe bang. And as someone who got to test the product, it did not prevent toe bang.
No. You need to have your heels stuck back in the pocket.
Yeah.
Yep. And maybe stop skiing and landing in the back seat, and you'll be okay.
Yeah, it's almost like introducing a rubber toe is like, hey, now you can ski in boots that are 2 sizes too big. It doesn't matter how much momentum your foot picks up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sweet. Anything else on the Armada boot?
Oof, dude.
I'm just excited. I just love to see. I mean, Armada is an absolute powerhouse.
I really think people got to give it a try. I mean, it's so good. It's so freaking good. And you know, it's built by a great team, really well thought out. It's not something that they just like cooked up, you know, last spring and then like, yeah, let's do this. I mean, they've been thinking about it when they brought it up to us in February 23, that wasn't like, hey, guess what we thought of last night.
They had been thinking about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I would guess this has been thought about for 15 years, probably since this is complete speculation, but I mean, Hans had to think during that time where Full Tilt and Dalbella was crushing it. We could probably do that.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
I mean, them joining the Aimer group definitely was the catalyst to this whole thing from the sounds of it.
Makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
I'm psyched for them. I think we're going to do really well with it. I think ski shops everywhere are going to do really well with it. I think the boot has a lot of use cases, and they nailed the hardest thing, and that's fit. They nailed the fit. That is one of the best fitting 100 millimeter lasts.
Yeah, it is compared to all of them, right?
Yeah, all of them.
To Speed Machine, Mach 1 MV, Prime,
Supra, Prime,
yeah,
Shadow MV,
and it actually fits tighter, right?
In the heel, yeah.
Yeah.
Heel and ankle, yeah, it's snugger.
Sweet, yeah, cool. And then I don't know any other veering off the Armada topic and talking about new boots as a whole.
Yeah,
we got a new Mach 1 LV.
Yeah.
That came to the store
a
couple weeks ago.
Yeah. I haven't skied in that one
available.
yet. What's that?
That's now available. And
yeah, I mean, we've sold out of almost all of them.
Yeah.
I mean,
quick.
Which is, I mean, that boot is for sure going to disrupt the LV market.
Yeah.
Big time.
I mean, the Mach LV, the previous Mach LV was a pretty good fitting boot for anybody looking for a snug low volume boot. Like that would win all the time.
Yeah.
And well, not all the time, but you know what
wins more on the women's side than it does on the men's side.
Yeah.
But the instep pressure on that boot was like pretty intense. Like it only fit like a small amount of people. It was like one of the lowest volume boots you could get.
If anybody was saying no to it, it was usually because it was too tight on top of the foot.
100%. And now like it's got 3 millimeters more instep room, which doesn't sound like much, but to feet it's a lot.
Yeah.
Now it's about equal to what the Pro Machine was.
Mm-hmm.
Or is. And this throat part here.
Yep.
Is, I don't even know how to describe this, but like it's bigger. So it's, for being a low volume boot, it's pretty easy to put on.
Yeah. And that plastic they use is just nice for putting on. It's easy to bend.
Yeah. And like
at room temp.
Totally. And at I don't know if this is in all the flexes, but it's in the 130 and the women's 115. It's PU lower, Gorilla Mid upper. Apparently that works better with a new T-Drive system, which the previous T-Drive was just an external system. It's that piece of carbon fiber you can see on the back. Mm-hmm. Now it's an external and internal system, so it gives more of a push-pull. So the boots have better rebound. Boots just feel less dead. You know, so the external system helps with the flex profile going forward. The internal system helps the boot go back to its resting position. And I guess it worked better with Gorilla Mid than it did PU. I mean, it has to, because Gorilla Mid costs more to Tecnica than PU. So, I mean, they wouldn't just do it for fun.
Right.
It's costing them more money to do that.
Right.
So, like, I've already gotten some comments on, like, this is ridiculous with the instep room. They made more instep. Like, you and I both know that LV that is not one of our top selling LVs.
The
mock
previous
LVs. Previous mock LV.
Yeah. Well, I take back my comment from a few minutes ago. But what did I say? I was like, it would win all the time. But the
women's does okay.
Yeah.
Men's has a tough time. But like the amount of mock LVs we buy and sell versus, ultras, alphas, shadow LVs, it's way smaller.
Yeah.
But with this one, I mean, this is just going to fit a much larger group of feet.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you think there are people that it won't work for anymore?
No, I mean, like
Still has the fit characteristics that were important about the last one.
It's still very low volume. It's just a low volume that actually makes sense.
Yeah.
It was too low volume before.
Yeah. Yeah. Excited about that.
Yeah.
And the last thing I wanted to touch on, and I don't even know how much you can talk about, but the new atomic boot.
Yeah.
That you've been.
No, Matt got the, Berkowitz got the green light for us to talk about that. He's got the receipts, so I think it's fine. But the Redster got redone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I spent most of my time skiing in last year was the Redster CS 130. And when Manzer and Val were here last February, they had one of those to put on and put the boot on. I'm like, holy shit. This it's a 96 last. In a lot of ways, I think it fits. It's more anatomical than the current Ultra at 98. Like it's a really good fitting 96. Snugger than their 98, but dude, this fits so well. So that line is all redone. They have a new boot, which is what I'll be skiing in, side by side with a mock LV 130 this year, is the Remedy 130, which same mold as the new Redster. It's not called Redster CS. It's called Redster TX, I think. Mm-hmm. And so shares the same mold. You have a shock stopper boot board, so you don't have something that's just going to at least feel like, if you get in the air and land, it doesn't feel like your feet are going to explode like it does in my Redsters.
Yeah.
When you come up short, because I was too afraid to go up to that kicker as fast as I should.
Right.
You know how it goes.
Yeah.
And then
if only you had a rubber toe.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Could you imagine if they put a effing toe bang stopper?
Imagine if that's
on
the
end
only
of a
thing they
Redster.
changed.
Yeah.
I got the new Redster.
But I think it's different liner from Remedy to Redster TX 130. Definitely different boot board. And the color is sick, dude.
It's butter.
It's butter.
Yeah.
The pictures don't do justice, but it's a really sick, Toyota Tacoma.
Oh yeah.
Santa Cruz, buttery looking thing.
Yeah. Tan.
Yeah.
Whatever you'd call it.
But yeah, photos don't do justice.
No.
And that
looks
toe
sweet
box
in person
is anatomical, just like that AR1.
Yeah.
You look down and you're like, oh, that looks more like a foot.
Yeah. Is that the biggest difference between that and your current Redsters?
Dude, the whole thing just fits. Dude, I don't even know.
It's just, is it more forgiving?
Dude, it just
Anatomical.
It's just more anatomical. I don't even know. I'm gonna try just cooking up the liners and not touching the shells, because having been in them for 30 minutes hanging out here,
yeah,
I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
And on every single low volume boot I have, I got to do all sorts of crap to them.
Yeah.
And I'd never be able to make it 30 minutes just sitting.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm good.
Yeah.
Footbeds, cook the liners, go.
See how it goes.
Yep.
Yeah. And so who's that boot for?
Oh man, anyone that is looking at 130 low volume boots,
Yeah.
they shouldn't be afraid of those.
Right.
And like the Redster CS I had previously is by far the best skiing boot I've ever skied in, and supposedly this is better, which feels like kind of insane to top.
Yeah.
Like I cannot imagine a ski boot skiing better.
Yeah.
But it took them this long to make a boot that could ski better.
Yeah.
Definitely fits better, skis better. Like, dude,
Yep.
it's going to be sick.
Yeah.
Pretty exciting. Like this year was a huge ski year. Next year, pretty big boot year with.
You just said what I meant to say earlier on the podcast.
What was that?
That it's like like boots are the thing this year.
Oh my God.
Where this was the most exciting year for skis.
Yeah.
24, 25.
Yep.
And now we have that with boots.
Yeah. And like, there'll be double boa on everything.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
There's so much double boa next year. It's crazy.
Can you tell me your thoughts on double boa?
Yeah. So, I've had several on. I've skied in a couple of them. They're pretty difficult to put on. Because you're fighting a lot of cable. And this needs to be said with some context. Like, I've been putting on ski boots like as just a regular recreational skier, and boot fitter on myself, on other people, like for the majority of my life. I'm like, I guess, a professional at putting on ski boots. And that thing is tough to put on. So if I'm having trouble putting that on, the rest of consumers are going to have a difficult time.
Yeah.
So that's not great. So I think that's limits.
A big barrier for a boot.
It totally is.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason
people will completely rule out a boot if it's hard to put on.
Yeah. And you have boots like the Nordica HF, the Rossignol Vision. The Nordica Cruise is honestly one of the easiest boots to put on.
Yeah.
But they're coming out with these boots that are easy to put on because it was tough with just buckles.
Mm-hmm.
It is a little bit tougher with BOA just being on the bottom.
Yeah.
Because as you split it, that cable wants to close back up.
It doesn't open.
Like buckles don't have the same resistance that BOA does. And now you've added that resistance to the cuff. And that's going to be tough for people. So you got two pieces to a boot. In most boots, you got your shell and your cuff. Mm-hmm. Cuffs wrap really well. They don't really need help with that. It's a normal shape, like it's a cylinder, just wrapping. This thing down here has a difficult time closing. So BOA on the bottom, it weaves back and forth really 5 times on most boots. It's got 5 contact points versus buckles, which just have 2. So no matter how tight you're making that BOA, it's only wrapping. Buckles wrap. Then once you put effort into that buckle, it goes from wrapping to collapsing, which can cause issues for people on top of the foot, right? BOA is a great answer for a lot of people. But for anyone that relies on the shell to collapse in order to get enough pressure on top of their foot, there aren't low volume enough BOAs out for those people yet, you know? But when you add BOA onto the cuff, which already wraps well, you're kind of taking a step backwards because like a cuff, it can go into like a cone shape. It can be a cylinder or it can be a cone. So if like you have a huge calf and a small ankle, buckles do a great job. They can accommodate for that well.
Right.
Great. Good to go.
Yeah.
With BOA, they can't.
Yeah, because it's one.
It wants to close all at the same rate.
System.
It wants to just close into a cylinder.
Right.
So like if you have a really normal leg shape, yeah, it'll be great. And I think people are really kind of romanticizing like the feeling of like how the cuff closes, because it's like it's so much more progressive because you feel each tightening instead of going 0 to like 100 basically on buckles.
Yeah.
And like now you have someone bent over, turning. So like I think on most BOA boots, I'm like 27 turns in the bottom. On the cuff, I'm like 35 to 40. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a lot of time to be bent over.
Yeah.
And if you have a big gut, dude, that is a lot of time to be down there versus just going bang, bang, you know?
Right.
Yeah, easier to adjust it with your mittens or gloves on, whatever. But I don't know. I'm way less into double BOA than BOA is, or any boot brand that really is excited about BOA. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I haven't had a double BOA boot on that I can get tight enough on my leg.
On the calf.
On the calf.
Yeah.
And I don't have small legs.
And you're not weak.
No.
I think you're a strong guy.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
No
you.
problem. That's kind of why I sat down with you today. Your arms have been looking good.
Oh, thank you, dude. Thank you.
Anyway. I feel like we could go forever on this, but I think you got to wrap up, right?
I mean, dude, the Armada boot is freaking sick.
Yep.
It is awesome. I'm so stoked for, what Reem, Hans, Bransford, and the gang at Atomic came up with. They killed it, knocked it out of the park. And
Armada.
And Armada. Yeah. And, I mean, a lot of really cool new boots coming out next year. And it's a big boot year, and people should be hyped.
Yeah. I'm hyped.
Yeah. And I don't know. I'll ski a bunch more double BOA this year, and we'll see if my position changes. I don't know.
Hell yeah.
We'll
have to redo something similar to this after we skied and everything.
Yeah.
Dude,
like boot test years are so tough. Like testing skis is so much easier.
So much easier.
Demo bindings are
Especially
unbelievable.
29.5.
Oh yeah, you're screwed. You have to do it all in real time. You can't do it in the future.
No.
Like me and Joe can.
I know, you lucky bastards.
Being a 26.5 is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, honestly, being this tall is not all it's cracked up to be.
You're right.
It's not. I can never put on a ski boot. I can't test any ski boots. Dude, I can't go to a musical. The seats are too small. Planes suck.
Planes suck.
And
how are gondolas for you?
And short guys stare at me at the bar. What'd you say?
How are gondolas?
Gondolas are fine.
Yeah.
They're tight.
Yeah.
For sure. I'm not a gondola guy
Trams
anyway.
would be kind of nice though, because you could have you could see a lot. You can see what's going on.
Everything.
Yeah.
I got the 360 view. If I'm going up the Jackson tram, I see it all.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me again, dude.
Well, thanks for doing it, George.
Yeah.
Glad you could squeeze it in this morning. You got to go talk about Black Crows, right?
Yeah, Julian from Black Crows is here from France, and I am meeting him downstairs in 6 minutes.
All right. Go for it.
All right. Thanks, Garrett.
Thanks for listening.